Welcome back. We're going through the latest research, and today we've got a really fascinating one. It's a market that, if you just glanced at the economic data, you'd think gold rush. But then you start digging into the actual, the legal framework, and you realize you've hit an absolutely impenetrable wall. Before we get into the specifics of this market, though, let's quickly set the stage on who we are. We are the Gambling Databases research team. We're a group dedicated to delivering these in-depth analyses of the global iGaming landscape. In each country report, we explore key things like local regulations, tax, player experience, operator conditions, all the emerging trends. Our goal is really to provide a clear, data-driven understanding of how the industry works in each market and what makes it unique.
And this time, we are focusing squarely on Israel. It's such a compelling case study, exactly because of that contradiction you just mentioned.
Yeah.
It ticks every single box for a high-potential digital market, but it's locked down. I mean, it operates under this incredibly restrictive regulatory regime that it locks out the entire private sector.
That's the paradox right there, isn't it? For you, the listener, think about this. We're talking nearly 10 million people, highly urban, incredibly tech-focused, 92% internet penetration. And a per capita income of what? $61,000?
Staggering numbers. These are the kinds of demographics that usually fuel a multi-billion-dollar iGaming industry.
So why then, when our analysts crunched all this, did the market get an operator ease score of a flat 0?
0.0.
A 0 out of 10.
And a 0 score isn't an accident. It's not, a slight regulatory headache. It signals a complete statutory ban on any private sector involvement. This market is dominated completely by a state monopoly. So for all that potential, the door is it's bolted shut.
That's a dramatic finding, so we have to start right there. Okay, let's unpack this. What's the legal foundation for this? How can a state maintain such an absolute lockout?
It all comes down to the Israeli penal law. And it's a very, very broad piece of legislation. It just comprehensively prohibits most forms of gambling.
So everything. Betting, lotteries.
Betting, lotteries, games of chance, right across the board. They start with this blanket prohibition, and then only then do they carve out two very specific, very narrow exceptions. And those are the only legal ways to gamble in the country.
And let me guess, those exceptions are state-controlled.
Exclusively. They're reserved for the National Lottery and the crucial one for betting, the Israel Sports Betting Board, or the ISBB.
So the ISBB isn't just another operator with a license?
No, it is the license. By law, it is the single licensed operator,
The sole operates.
the sole legal entity that can offer sports betting, and that includes online sports and horse racing. This isn't just about them controlling the licenses, it's absolute statutory exclusivity. The framework basically says no private company, foreign or local, can even apply for a license, because the state has granted that power only to itself.
Which means if you're an international sportsbook looking at a map, your due diligence on Israel stops right there.
It stops dead.
Yeah.
The possibility of getting licensed legally is zero. It's non-existent.
So we're talking a hard prohibition.
Absolutely. Things like land-based casinos, online slots, poker, table games, all of it strictly and explicitly illegal.
Okay, I get it for a local company, but what about offshore? I mean, the industry has run on regulatory arbitrage for years. Why should an operator in Malta care if they can't get a local license? What makes Israel different from a gray market?
Because the state has decided it's not a gray market. To them, it's a black market. They have this really aggressive stance that says any foreign operator targeting Israeli citizens is breaking the law.
So they're actively pursuing them.
Actively. You are engaging in a clear criminal offense. The only, and I mean theoretical, way in would be some kind of partnership with the ISBB.
Which means working for the monopoly.
Exactly. Not competing with it,
Yeah.
direct private entry is just blocked, unequivocally.
And the way they enforce that block is, I think, the most interesting part of this whole report. I mean, here's where it gets really fascinating. How do they actually do it? It's one thing to have a law, but how do you stop a tech-savvy population from just going to foreign sites?
They built what you can only really call a dual-layer digital and financial firewall.
A firewall, okay.
First up, you have ISP blocking. Since 2018, the Ministry of Finance and the police have been really active, issuing these legally binding orders to all Israeli internet service providers. If they spot an unauthorized offshore gambling domain, poof, the ISPs are forced to block it.
But come on, realistically, IST blocking in a country that's 95% digitally literate, doesn't that just lead to everyone using a VPN?
It does, and that's where the second layer comes in. This is the really effective one, the financial firewall.
The
The
money.
money. The Bank of Israel has strictly forbidden all financial institutions in the country from processing any transactions related to unauthorized gambling. Every bank, every credit card issuer.
How do they even track that?
They do it by targeting specific codes, the Global Merchant Category Codes, or MCCs.
Right, the four-digit codes that classify business, like 7995 for gambling.
It's exactly that one. By telling the local banks to just reject any transaction with that code, the Bank of Israel creates a blockade right at the source of the money.
That's incredibly clever.
It creates huge friction for the customer. So even if you get around the ISP block with your VPN, you still can't fund your account.
Or cash out.
Or cash out, not with a normal debit card or a bank transfer anyway.
And for an offshore operator, that's a killer. That banking ban means you're forced into using, what, high-risk shadow processing?
That's it. Complicated payment cloaking, volatile crypto channels, you name it. And our data suggests this drives the effective payment processing fees up past 15, maybe even 20%.
20%. You're losing a fifth of your revenue just moving money. Your
Yeah.
business model is dead before you even start acquiring customers.
It's just not viable.
But what about the people behind it, the executives? What's
Yeah.
the personal risk here? Is it just a fine?
No, this is where it gets very serious. The risk is personal liberty. Enforcement is robust. Fines, equipment seizure, and they actively pursue criminal prosecution.
So jail time.
Up to 3 years imprisonment for illegal operators. But the really scary part for international executives is the extradition treaties.
Ah.
Israel has solid extradition treaties with the US, the UK, most of the EU. So if you're a director sitting in London and you're found to be running an illegal operation targeting Israel,
You're not safe there. They can actually come for you.
it's a very real, non-theoretical risk of arrest and extradition. It elevates this from a business risk to a career-ending threat.
It's a sophisticated way to defend a monopoly, weaponizing international law.
And yet, even with all of that, we have to go back to the consumer. Because what's so fascinating is that the population metrics still scream perfect iGaming market.
Right, let's just run those numbers again. 9.7 million people, 92% internet, over 95% smartphone penetration, and that's $61,000 per capita income. These are affluent, digitally native consumers ready for premium products.
And their preferences prove it. Even within the tiny legal market, sports betting is huge. Football, basketball, then the national lottery. The demand is there, and it's for exciting products that the state monopoly just can't or won't provide. It lacks the agility, the competition.
Okay, so let's say a player gets through all that.
Yeah.
They use a VPN for the ISP block. They find a way around the financial firewall. The final kick in the teeth, the thing that deters them, is the tax on their winnings.
This is such a critical point. It just destroys player retention and value. Players have to pay a punitive 35% tax on any gambling winnings.
35% is massive.
It is. And the threshold is incredibly low. It kicks in on winnings over about 30,000 shekels, which is roughly, what, $8,200 US?
$8,000 is not a life-changing win. A good accumulator bet could easily put you over that.
Easily. And that tax rate just kills the value proposition for the player. As you're going through all that trouble to play, you hit a nice win, and then a third of it goes straight back to the government that tried to stop you in the first place.
It's counterproductive. You're actually pushing your high-value players directly to the untaxed illegal offshore sites.
You're guaranteeing the survival of the very black market you claim you're trying to fight.
So what does that mean for the legal market size? It must be tiny.
It is. Artificially suppressed. We estimated at only about 0.4 billion US dollars annually.
Which, for a country with that profile, is just, it's a fraction of what an open competitive market would generate.
Probably less than 10%.
And yet it's still growing. Our data shows a modest 3 to 4% CAGR.
That's the compound annual growth rate. It's just ticking upward slowly, mostly driven by that state-run sports betting. The internal demand is just too strong to keep it totally flat.
Which brings us to the big question then. Is there any chance at all of this market opening up?
Well, the source material points to a very recent debate that sheds some light on that.
What are the discussions for 2025?
So as of early 2025, there are some initial government talks about possibly legalizing live sports betting on Israeli sports.
Okay, that sounds like an opening.
But you have to read that with extreme caution. This is not about opening up to private operators. It is 100% a risk mitigation strategy.
To fight the black market.
Exactly. They're trying to make a small internal change to capture some of the huge demand for live in-play betting that's all happening offshore right now. It's a tactical move to protect the monopoly, not to end it.
That is the ultimate reality check for any operator, isn't it? Even with 80% 5G coverage and all that tech infrastructure, there is just no legal path in.
Zero.
Any attempt to enter means absorbing massive legal risk and prohibitive costs. So to summarize for you, Israel is a critical lesson in market analysis. You cannot look at the demographics and the tech metrics alone. This is a state monopoly that is actively and very effectively protecting its revenue stream with a sophisticated technological and financial fortress.
Yeah, our final verdict is that those high economic numbers are completely irrelevant. They're canceled out by three things: a total market lockout, aggressive enforcement, and that punitive player tax that just feeds the black market. It's a closed government fiefdom. That's the best way to describe it.
Here's a final thought for you to consider. Given that the state is actually thinking about legalizing live betting just to fight the black market, just how much revenue do you think that illegal market must be generating every year if the entire legal market is only worth $0.4 billion? The pressure from that illegal sector is clearly enormous, and it's the government's own policies that make it so attractive. It's a massive self-inflicted regulatory problem. For the full text of this and other country reports, visit our website at gamblingdatabases.com.